Welcome back, everybody. For those of you who've been watching the show who know me, you know that I can't stop talking about my favorite TV drama of all time. Yes,
West Wing.
The West Wing, absolutely. Those of you who guessed it, 10 points to you. Those of you who didn't, go back and rewatch all the videos. And yeah, I'm rewatching the show right now, as a matter of fact. I'm rewatching all 7 seasons. And I have this man who's in front of me on my TV screens almost daily. And it's surreal and an enormous honor to speak to Thomas Kopache.
Hello.
Thank you, Thomas. I definitely will dive into the West Wing, but I kind of wanted to go back because there are a few things that I do a lot of research before these, and there are a few things that I came across that were very interesting to me, and I wanted to ask you about them. So you were born barely a month after World War II ended, and yet as soon as you turned 18, you joined the U.S. Navy. Were you drafted? Or was there part of you that really wanted to serve because you ended up going to Vietnam?
Yeah, that's an interesting story. I was actually 17.
17.
And yeah, I had finished high school, and my drama teacher in high school had wanted me to apply to the Pasadena Playhouse to continue studying. At that time, the Pasadena Playhouse was still had an acting program. And I didn't think of myself as becoming an actor. I didn't do well in school. My grades were very poor, and except for the drama class and history. I always did well in history. Uh, and You either in Tacoma, Washington, you either went to college, or you had a job that you went to, or you joined the military. So I signed up to join the military, and this was before the big push in Vietnam. Vietnam was sort of in the news, but sort of in the back.
Yeah.
It was going on, but Gulf of Tonkin hadn't happened yet, and so it was relatively quiet. And wasn't even thinking about war or serving. I'd like to say I was just a dumb kid. I don't like saying that, but that seemed to be the only thing to do. I wanted to get away from home. I had some problems at home. So I joined the Navy. And then I think within a year of my time in the service, the Gulf of Tonkin incident happened. And all of a sudden, I was shipped to the Western Pacific. And it was an interesting time. I was a young guy. I thought I was serving my country and fighting communism. And it wasn't until I got out of the service that I kind of woke up and realized what a horrible thing Vietnam was. I take no pride in saying I served. I'm proud of the people I served with. I met some wonderful people, but the war itself, I have to say I feel some shame about it. And no, not some shame. I don't feel any pride in serving in the Vietnam conflict.
Understood.
And pardon?
No, thank you. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, and but I think about it a lot, and I think I was a young guy. I was unhappy at home. I couldn't go to college, and the military seemed like the way out. I joined the Navy to see the world, and then the war really kicked into high gear, and I was deeply involved with that. But I got out unscathed. I wasn't in heavy combat zones. I was in some combat zones. I was on board a ship, and I saw enough to teach me that there's nothing romantic about war at all. And but maybe the only positive thing was that I got the GI Bill. And so when I got out of the service, I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I thought, well, I could go to college, and I had the GI Bill to help me. And I was going to be an anthropologist. I remember telling my mother, and she said, nah, you're an actor. But I did one semester of studying anthropology, and I took drama on the side. And I didn't do well in anthropology, and the drama professor said, well, you could still get the GI Bill and shift your major to drama. But I still didn't think I was going to become a professional actor. I just was in school, didn't know what to do, and I had the GI Bill, and I thought, okay, I'll make a decision at some point. And then I finished my 4-year program at San Diego State. My first 2 years, I was at a junior college. I went to a junior college, and then San Diego State. And I applied to some grad schools thinking, well, I like college, so see if I can go to a grad school in drama. Didn't get accepted at any of them.
Wow.
And then a buddy of mine told me about Cal Institute of the Arts. He said, it's a new school, just opened up, and they're offering financial aid.
Mm-hmm.
So I applied there and got accepted. And that's when I thought, oh, maybe I'll pursue this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So I came at it slowly.
And well, it's you certainly went fast kind of from there, because when you graduated, and then I think in '73 you went abroad and
Yes.
you started a theater company in Amsterdam, Netherlands, and then
That's
you
true.
toured.
Oh, you've done your research.
Huh?
I met a drama teacher at Cal Arts, Franz Marinen,
Okay.
and he had been part of the Grotowski, Jerzy Grotowski group. And then he left when I started my second year in my MFA program. He went to Carnegie Mellon. And when I graduated, he wrote me a letter and he said, I'm thinking of starting this theater company. Would you like to join? And I had no options. And I said, well, sure. So I went to New York. And from there, we went to Europe. And we were there on and off for about 2 years. It was quite a wonderful experience. I got to see places I never could have afforded to go to on my own.
It's incredible. And so again, you've done stage, you traveled Europe, then you came back. Then kind of 10 years passed, and you're in not far from me. I'm in Chicago, so you're in Indianapolis with the Repertoire Theater, doing some work, and then you finally get on screen. And the question for me is, what kind of made you to change from theater into doing and trying out screen roles? Was it something that you were planning, or it just kind of happened on its own?
It kind of happened, but it was also financial. I was working at La Mama and did some regional theater, and friends were saying, if you really want to increase your income and get off the day jobs, because in those days you do a gig, then you go to your day job. And I was, a dishwasher. I moved furniture one summer. That was probably one of the hardest physical jobs I ever did. And worked in a bookshop and different things to make a buck. And I thought, well, yeah, how do I do that? And so I started auditioning for soap operas, and I got cast in some soaps. And then my agent started submitting me for other television work.
Yeah.
But after a couple of years, it seemed like all my friends were going to LA.
Yep.
And because that's where the film and TV work was. So I thought, okay, I made the pilgrimage to LA, and a job here, a job there, but they started coming more frequently. And somewhere in there, West Wing happened.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. We're still about a decade away from it.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. The movie Without a Trace you did with Judd Hirsch, and what I find interesting, aside from Judd being amazing, is that Stockard Channing was there. So you got to see Stockard Channing, and then 10 years later, obviously, you would be in West Wing together. So kind of life telling you maybe what is going to happen down the road, whether you recognize it or not. So you did a bunch of guest roles. You did films, you did theater, and then you got to be on set, which made you one of the 5 people in the world that have done 7 different roles in this enterprise, which is Star Trek. So
Star Trek.
when you got on there, did you have any inkling of, aside from this is great, but this is something that I will be associated with for a long time to come? Was there any inkling of that?
Not at the time, but the story about that is that when I did leave New York to go to LA, I was a major Star Trek fan. And I said, if I don't do anything else, I've got to get a gig on Star Trek. And so that was, some people say, I want to star in this, I want to be in that. I wanted to be on Star Trek Next Generation. So I came out and I auditioned a few times, and then finally got to be a Romulan
Mhm.
on I can't remember the title of the episode, The Next Phase.
I think so. Yeah.
And I played and it was the biggest thrill, but I had no idea that this would be a lifelong association or
Yeah.
that I would even do any other episodes. I just had that one gig and it was such a delight. And I love wearing alien makeup. Put me in alien makeup, I'm a happy camper.
Well, it actually goes into some of the acting approaches that I wanted to ask you, but that's good to know. I'll come back to that.
Okay.
Um, and then kind of your next three movies at that time was Star Trek Generations, Leaving Las Vegas, a little movie that Nick Cage was in, Ghost of Mississippi, and then at the same time on TV you did Law and Order, Melrose Place, and Murder She Wrote. So 94 to 96. At least to me, just looking on paper, seemed like a time when you kind of progressed to that next level of, okay, I'm in this and this is a real thing, and going from it. Did it feel like it?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Did it feel like it to you? Did it feel like you've graduated to the next level as an actor?
It did. And I remember talking, oh gosh, I can't remember who I was talking to, but I said, yeah, this is it. I'm no more day jobs.
Hmm.
And that was a big thrill. And yeah, I did feel this momentum picking up. And I was feeling quite thrilled about it all. And the jobs would be still very, Murder She Wrote was so fun to work on. Angela Lansbury was a sheer delight. I remember our first entrance. I'm off stage. I played this kind of evil butler, and we were waiting for the door to open. I was carrying her luggage, and she started tap dancing. And she said,
Huh.
"Isn't this fun? Isn't this fun?" And then the door opened, and we began the shoot. And I'll never forget that. She had the right energy for it. But that was yeah, that was a key time because it dawned on me that this was going to be my life, and that I could earn a living at it, which is all by itself a huge, huge thing.
Yeah. Okay, so no more side jobs, and then we finally get to 2001 when you became the Assistant Secretary of Defense, Bob Slattery, on My West Wing. Yes, it's mine because I've adopted it as my favorite show ever.
Yeah.
How did that come about? And did you get a chance to audition in front of my favorite casting director ever, John Levy?
Yes. And well, everybody associated with that show was terrific. But I auditioned, and the character was called the Man in the Gray Suit. And for the
Interesting.
first few episodes I did, I was referred. I didn't get the name Slattery until a little bit later on, when I started coming more regularly. But
Yeah.
the night before the audition, my character had to name off these different cities in the Middle East,
Mhm.
and I was having trouble with the pronunciation.
Mhm.
So I had a buddy who was great at that stuff, and I called him up, and he said, "Come on over, I'll help you." And we went through all the different cities that with the kind of Arabic sound.
Yeah.
And so I showed up on set, and the Situation Room, and you probably have heard this story, was famous for being sometimes the longest day because you had all this technical language, and
Yeah.
actors would go up on lines, and it was just like everybody's prepared for a long day when you're in the Situation Room. And so it came to the camera comes to me, and I'm talking to the president, naming off these cities,
Mhm.
and they cut, and there was a pause, and someone said, "Wow." And they looked at me and they said, "That was marvelous." And then Aaron Sorkin came down because he was on
Yeah.
the set all the time, and he shook my hand. He said, thank you so much." And I wasn't sure what I had done. And they said, "We were prepared to have to do these takes over and over and over again
Wow.
because of the complicated city names." And so I was happy. I had a wonderful day on the set. And then about 2 weeks later, I got called. They said they'd like you to come back, and then that began, I think, 12 or 14 episodes, all because
Yep.
I said those names correctly.
Yeah. 14 episodes over 4 seasons.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
and
it's
that's still one of the most delightful experiences, and I think the show holds up beautifully. But that was quite a thrill, and to get a call to just So you're used to getting auditions, and but to get a call and say, "Hey, can you be on the set in 3 days?" is just such a delight. And over the 4-year period, that was really something.
Yeah, and you continued staying very busy during that time. But in terms of West Wing has a cadence. You know, Aaron has his way of speaking and his way of moving. So you were, you know, one of the people who was there when Aaron was there, and then after Aaron left. Did you notice kind of any palpable differences between how things ran before and after?
Yeah, a little bit. And some of the actors who were the regulars,
Mhm.
there were no complaints or anything like that, but it did feel, how can I describe it? It was different, and I don't want to say it was a little less fun
Mhm.
for
Okay.
me. For me, but it was
Yeah.
still a marvelous show, and they did great work. And I worked with some outstanding directors. Tommy Shalami was one of them, and some fabulous directors. But
Mhm.
I kind of missed that presence of Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah, all of his shows that I have seen, they're in my top, you know, 5 list because it's incredible. I just love that ability to come across with incredible intelligence, with impeccable writing. It's just
Impeccable.
such a combination that I still marvel at. And the only part of me that's sad about The West Wing is that I wasn't acting during that time, and I didn't have a chance to be on it. So
Oh,
that's my only regret at this point.
yeah.
Um,
It was really a truly wonderful experience. I think that when I think of my time in LA, and there were some other wonderful things. I got to work with the Coen brothers. My goodness, you know. But the West Wing and the Star Treks stay with me in my heart.
yeah. What was your favorite experience? Kind of less thing on West Wing. What was your favorite experience on the West Wing?
I think just in terms of storyline,
Hmm.
and I can't remember the title of the episode, but it was when we're sitting in the Situation Room and we're talking about maybe killing
Omar
this
Sharif.
world leader with the
Omar Sharif.
exploding,
Yeah.
yes, with
Yeah.
the exploding cigar.
Yeah.
And I think I presented that idea, and I think that, well, everyone was wonderful, but that one stayed with me because of what it was dealing with, and the fact that there had been during the Kennedy administration that thought of doing Castro in that way,
Mhm.
and how it was dealt with in the writing, and how Martin Sheen's character dealt with that.
Yeah.
So I'd say that was one of my. I'd say that's my favorite. Yeah.
It's amazing. Um, then again, you have 137 credits, so you know we can go on for hours of me asking you about the things that I've seen you in. Um, I was going to start by saying that you know between us we have 141 credits, but I thought that's just stupid.
Oh, whoa, wow, good for you.
So in terms of you know moving forward, and I don't, you know, I didn't rewatch everything because I didn't have as much time as I wanted to. But I don't know if you and Dulé Hill. I'm pretty sure that he was in some of your scenes, or at least outside the Oval Office when you were in there. But you get a chance to work with Dulé on my favorite comedy of all time, which is Psych. You did Psych. What was that like? Because that's the other you know show that I have regrets of never being in.
Good for your memory, because I had forgotten it, and that was nothing but delight. Those two guys are so funny on and off
Mhm.
camera, and we had some wonderful conversations. And yeah, that was one of my favorite shows at the time too. I used to love watching that. My sister and I would talk about the episodes we'd seen and how funny they were. But I didn't. I hadn't done a lot of comedy, and of course, my character wasn't a comedic character, but
Right.
it was a treat to get to audition and then to get cast and go up and work with those guys, and they were really wonderful, wonderful to work with.
Um,
Generous, warm, and welcoming. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Dulé is one of those incredible people that he's traversed every one of my favorite shows ever. You know, if he ever shows up on Billions, he's going to complete that list but he's been on Suits, which is one of my favorite shows. He's been on The
Oh,
West Wing. He's been on Psych. He's everywhere. I love Dulé. Definitely one of the people that I'm trying to speak with is Dulé, so I can spend a few hours and ask him a bunch of questions.
oh my
Um,
gosh, yeah.
the other thing that I kind of didn't realize until a little bit later is that Kristen or Kirsten, who was the also on West Wing. So she was on Psych, but she was Mrs. She was the younger, version, the flashback version of oh my God, now I forgot the first secretary of the president.
Oh, right, right.
Yeah,
Oh,
so she played that role. I didn't realize that until much later. When I started looking at it, I'm like, yeah, no wonder you looked so familiar to me on Psych because I've seen you before on West Wing. It was
oh,
very, very, it's,
yeah, a lot of, oh, that's, I didn't know that actually about that until, that's
yeah,
wonderful.
yeah, she did a couple of episodes there, right, kind of in the pivotal time when the president was deciding whether he was going to run for the second term,
That's,
and
that's
she
great.
died. So that was I think one of my favorite moments of one of my favorite episodes of The West Wing is when there was the I think they called the Two Cathedrals is the name of that episode,
Right.
where for most of the episode, Martin didn't say anything, and I kept on waiting. I thought, okay, there's no way that this is not going to go somewhere. And at the very end, when he has to clear the church, and then he had his conversation with God, that was one of the most powerful things I've ever seen him do.
Wasn't that, yeah, what a terrific actor,
Yeah.
Mark. Yeah, what a terrific, yeah, that's a powerful, powerful scene. It's a
Yeah.
wonderful scene.
All right, let's talk about some of the other things before I want to dive into to kind of your acting method. You
Oh,
had a chance to work with Tom Hanks in Catch Me If You Can and Leo DiCaprio.
yes,
I love your scene there. It's still one of the funniest things that I've ever seen. Like
so much fun.
huh,
I did get to work with Leonardo DiCaprio when he was a younger actor in This Boy's Life. I
yes,
didn't work with him, but he was,
yep,
it was his story, of course. So, oh yeah, that was a lot of fun. And Steven Spielberg, well, I'd love to work with him ever, if I ever could again.
yeah,
I was on set and I was watching Christopher Walken and Leonardo DiCaprio doing something, and I was getting ready to move into the office for my scene.
yep,
And I felt this presence come up beside me and say, "Now look what we're going to do." I thought it was the first AD, and he
mm,
said, "You're going to go in there and we'll sit you up, and then look, we're going to take your time, and we're going to do a lot of different takes, have fun with it." And I looked, and it was Spielberg,
wow,
just speaking very mellowed, and I was a little, "Whoa, Mr. Spielberg!" But that's his energy. That was his energy on the set when I was working, and
yeah,
just made me feel. Again, it's so important when you're just a day or two on a show, if you're welcomed, if you're made to feel welcomed and comfortable. And he did that in such a natural way. I just felt part of the family, and it was a lot of fun. And I'm glad you like the scene. It's a fun scene,
I
and
do.
I didn't realize how much of that was accurate. I thought, well, they're making some exaggerations here, but no, this guy did that. He took
Yeah,
over the French class in his high school.
yeah, amazing.
It's amazing, isn't it?
I
Avignon, I think his name
I
is.
watched the actual Frank. His last name escapes me. It's something with an alley.
Abigail, is
Epic
it?
Alley, yeah.
Yeah.
I watched him actually talk about it and how he was going through it and how he was able to get away with it and how he really wouldn't have stopped if it wasn't for his wife, if it wasn't for that relationship that kind of changed his perspectives and what he wanted to do in life.
Yeah.
So so interesting, and what he's done in terms of revolutionizing the checks and working with the banking system.
It's
It's
astonishing.
fascinating life story on its own.
Yeah. There's a guy who could have been an actor and decided to do.
Yeah, yeah.
He
Well,
pulled off these impersonations. I mean, an airline pilot.
yeah.
My God.
I, I still to this day, one of the lines from the movie. I steal lines from movies and I use them in everyday life because that's the type of person I am. And the doctor. But from this movie, what I stole is, do you concur? Do you concur? Do you concur? When he was about to have he was a doctor and he was on call and finally he had to do the operation, and that's what he was remembering from watching and doing his research on TV. So I use the "Do you concur?" Still to this day.
Yeah, quite
Right.
a story.
Yeah. Let's jump to John Oliver and your cowboy, which you did for five times. Um, I knew at that time, and again, I watched The West Wing a while ago, and then I rewatched it again. So you were fresh in my mind, at that time. But when you did the cowboy, it took me a half a beat to recognize who you were because you looked so familiar, and I knew that I knew you. I just couldn't remember where. But that cowboy bit, that was just fantastic. I'm wondering how that came about, and did you get any blowback from people for it?
This business is so amazing because
Yeah.
sometimes you work on an audition, you want that job, you work so hard, and then you don't hear anything. And then there are these odd times where you get a phone call,
Yep.
and I got a phone call saying, "Would you like to do something on the John Oliver show?"
Hmm.
And I said, "Well, I did an audition." They said, "No, no, no. This is the general idea," and they told me about the cowboy.
Yep.
And I said, "I did an audition for this." And they said, "That's fine. No, no, they'd like you to come in and do this." So I said, "Can I think about it?" Now, this is the John Oliver show, but I was so thrown, and they said it's sort of an infomercial thing, and didn't know what to make of it. My wife said, "What are you, crazy? Of course you're going to do it." Thank
Yeah.
God for my wife,
Good.
my dear, dear wife. So anyway, I went in and sat down and talked with the director, and I thought, okay, I got this, and I worked on an accent for it, and then we shot it, and I thought, okay, that was fun, and next thing I know, I'm doing again every now and then I get a phone call, can you come in and do it? And they usually shot on Saturday in a separate little studio off the set. And the very last one I did, I got to be on the set for the final show of the season, and Mr. Oliver had called in. God, my phone just went off. Mr. Oliver had called in and or had invited all the people who had been guests that season to
Yeah.
come and take a curtain call. So I got to listen to him do his rap with the audience before they actually start the show. The man is he's just a genius. He would get questions that were comedic, sort of. He would have his quick wit, funny, and then very serious questions, which he answered. And his mind is so sharp. And that was a great joy to be part of that and come out and take a curtain call with the various cast of crazy characters that had been on that season.
It's amazing. I love that show.
Oh yeah,
It's one of the only shows where I cannot be eating anything while watching it because I'm worried about my safety and choking hazard.
that's yes, yes, absolutely. His wit is it's just astonishing,
Yeah.
and his commitment. He's a real activist too, and I admire that greatly.
And tremendous work ethic. I don't know, the type of hours that he puts in, but from what I heard, he's there day in, day out.
It's
And sure.
tremendous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, okay. One thing that always, kind of looking at your career and seeing where you are, I always thought that Ed Harris should play your son. Did that ever come about? Was there any discussions ever?
No, but my many people have said that, and I can't tell you the number of times at different times over the years in LA and here that people have thought I was Ed Harris, which is a great compliment.
Yeah.
Uh, I would love that. I think we would match up beautifully. Play his older brother.
Yeah.
Great idea. Let's put that out there. He's
Okay.
a tremendous actor too.
And he's amazing. He's
Yeah.
such an amazing actor.
Did you
Uh,
see that the one he did of Pollock, the film about Pollock?
yeah,
That was just astonishing.
yeah, I loved him, working with Clint in the Absolute Power. I think that's the name of the movie.
Oh, right.
Um,
Yeah.
I loved him with Jim Carrey in The Truman Show. He's just such a versatile actor, and I remember him from even when much younger, when he was with Melanie Griffith, playing the father, and she was the prostitute, if you will. So just he has a lot of depth and tremendous character work. So Ed, if you're listening, we have something that we can definitely do, or at least we can do a skit where you and Tom can get together and play family. So we'll try
I
to
would
arrange.
love that.
Yeah.
And he attended Cal Arts,
Oh, there you go.
although he was one of those guys who said, I don't know, I'm going to go off. I don't think he completed the program,
Wow.
and went off to San Francisco, I believe, and hooked up with Sam Shepard, and did quite well. So you don't always have to finish your schooling.
That's true. I remember watching Russell Crowe, and he was on James Lipton's, Inside the Actor Studio, and he said, I always admired people with the degree, and I always felt kind of inferior to them, and I kept on trying to get enough money so I can go and complete my schooling. But by the time I had the money to start my schooling, I already kind of learned everything that I wanted to learn because I was already an established working actor. So he never did it, but he's one of the greatest actors of our generation.
Yeah, outstanding, outstanding.
Yeah.
Those Australians.
Yeah, he's New Zealand, Australian. He's kind of both, but he's amazing.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you is kind of piggybacking back to what you said about applying makeup when you were on Star Trek. Put the alien makeup on me and I'm good. Different people approach acting differently. Some people that I talk to are very much outside in. It's what I'm wearing, or in this case, makeup. It forms the type of character that you are, and then it continues, going through on the inside, and then you really connect to the character. Other people start on the inside and then they take it out. What is your approach, and what have you found that works for you?
I suppose I would fall into the category of outside in, although because I've studied with some great people, once I completed my training at Cal Arts and came to New York, I took some classes with some members of the studio, the actor studio, and I think I'm in two worlds now. But as a kid, I was a face maker. I was
Mm.
always the clown. It was a defense mechanism. My family moved a lot, and I always felt a little bit outside. But I found if I could make people laugh, I was safe. And so Jerry Lewis was one of my first idols, and I would do Jerry Lewis faces and all kinds of craziness. And so I guess that's how I started. I look at the script and think about what I would look like,
Mhm.
and that's my initial approach was that. So doing the Star Treks was great because you're in that and it does everything for you.
Yeah.
And but I would say I'm now more realizing the importance of finding me in the part.
Mhm.
And so I would say over the years I've evolved, not evolved, changed to
Yeah,
appreciating the interior work that comes first. And I guess I could apply that even to being an alien.
it's true. Yeah, yeah.
But I've read some wonderful, great texts, and I appreciate. And I was a member of a company in Los Angeles that was very Stanislavski oriented.
Yeah.
So I would say that I've transferred more to that type of work.
Yeah.
Finding you always want to bring your truth to the
Yeah.
part.
Mhm.
And I didn't quite understand. Many years ago, someone said, Tom, be yourself in this role.
Mhm.
But I was such a unsure of myself. I didn't know what to do. Am I this? Am I that? But I
Mhm.
have a better understanding of that now. And I think opening up and letting the material come in and digest and then come back out through I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of how I work now.
Yeah, because it's your filter, it's your prism, it's your perception of it. So yeah, take it in, and then it's still you, but in that space as that character. So it is coming through you. That's what grounds you, and that's what allows you to be real in that situation. So yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll do, of course, with this quarantine, there's not a lot going on in the business, but I'll work on Shakespeare. Sometimes I'll cold read, and that's a great exercise for an actor, I think, for
Yeah.
voice and for everything. But and then I took a workshop from Alfred Molina, and he said, forget scansion, not forget it, but put that aside. What are you saying? What is being said? And then what are you saying with those words? And it's a wonderful exercise because Shakespeare is quite challenging for me. And so I apply that. And I also, you probably know Dakin Matthews.
Probably,
He's
but the
done
name is ringing a bell at the moment.
a ton of stuff. He's a great scholar too, great Shakespearean scholar. And I took some workshops from him, and he very much works from the inside. He says you do have to understand the form, but you have to understand what these words are meaning to you, what they say to you, and that's very important. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that. As we wrap up, because I know that I have enough questions for you for the next 2 hours, but I want to be kind to your time. As we wrap up, you've done a lot. You've been practically in every show. I looked and I didn't find you in a couple of shows that I thought, well, he probably was there, like The Wire or
The
Billy.
Wire. That's another great one.
It's my, I think, fourth on my all-time list. But you've done pretty much everything. Is there anything left in your career that you're looking forward to doing that you haven't done yet?
Well, I hadn't done a play in a while, and at the Public Theater, I was in a production of Coal Country, this brilliant docudrama by Eric Jensen and Jessica Blank. Jessica also directed it, and it closed because of the quarantine. But I would like to get back to theater. But at this stage of my life, I want to keep working.
Yeah.
And I would like to do a film. I'd like to get back into a film, but I'll take the jobs that come. And I'm happy if they come, and I would like to keep working. I saw Estelle Parsons not long ago in a play at the Public, and I marveled at her physical work and her acting. And I said, well, she's a lot older than I am, and look at her. Just look at her. And that's what I want to do. I just want to keep working.
Perfect. And at this point in your career, do you still have to audition, or is it mostly calls of, hey,
Unfortunately, I do. I'm going to talk to Ed Harris about this.
Okay.
No, I still do. And well, every now and then a call like the John Oliver show or something like that. But generally, it's auditions and self-taping, which I'm not really a fan of self-taping. I did book a wonderful job, though, from a self-tape on Messiah, that Netflix series. And but I'd like being with people. I like interacting with real people, and that may not be for a while. So
the more casting directors I talk to, the more they're saying that industry is changing, and there were a lot of self-tapes already. Especially in places like LA or Atlanta. They were doing a lot of self-tapes to begin with, but now because of COVID, because of what's happening and the changes, it's likely going to be more and more of self-tape and even auditions, virtually, like you and I are talking to right now, which for me, I find a little more difficult because, right now I'm looking at the camera. If I were looking at you, my eyes would be right here.
Oh, and I've been looking at you, so I probably look very weird right now, but that's okay.
But so it's like I'm much more of the, I want that person. I want to see their eyes. I want to be affected by what's happening there. And if I'm looking at the camera, I'm missing it because right now you're just in my periphery.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm looking at the camera, but I don't feel I'm talking to you. So
Right. Yeah. I get used to as I'm doing all these interviews. I get used to my eyes being at the camera, and then I go through and I rewatch all of the videos to make sure that I actually see you, because right now I see you on the periphery. I don't see your eyes, and I'm missing that part.
okay. I don't know what to
Well,
do, but
no, there's nothing that we can do, unfortunately. I haven't figured out a good way of having the camera here so I can still see you. So I don't know, maybe there's some sort of a contraption that we can have the camera, this way. I'm yet to find something that works, and we'll just make do with it as we can.
it's the new
Um,
technology, and I just don't know what I feel about it. I mean, I will do the auditions, of course,
yeah.
but I do miss that in-person contact. And but it's a new age, and it maybe will be with us from here on. I'd like to think not, but it's hard to tell right now.
Well, at least for the next, who knows, 6 months or 8 months, and then we'll see from there, God willing. Um, okay, last question. Because
I'm going
you,
to try to look at the camera.
don't worry, don't worry, don't worry.
Okay.
As the last question, because you have done so much and you've been in so many things, if you met your younger self right now and you had a chance to give your younger self one bit of advice, what would that be?
My younger self, Tom, don't waste time doing so much foolishness, going out partying,
Mm.
which I did a lot of, and take dance classes.
Hmm.
I exercise regularly. I do my voice work as often as I can, but I wish, because I was exposed to it early on, but I thought, oh, I'm not a dancer. I don't want to dance. But I wish I had added dance to my toolkit,
Hmm.
and spend more time working on the craft and less time, I don't know, pursuing being a hippie, which I did for a few years. So
Okay.
I think those two things I'd say to myself.
Yeah. Interesting. Very good advice, and I certainly recommend dancing to everybody. In terms of being an actor, my recommendations are you have to do improv and you have to do some sort of physical movement. So, yeah.
Improv. I forgot that. Improv. I wish I had been exposed to that earlier on too. That is priceless. I love watching improv. And I'll do it sometimes in classes, or sometimes you have some wiggle room with your script if you're working and you can improv. But the people who are really good at it are just, they're genius. They're amazing.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of shocked that I get a chance to talk to you when I started the show on May 20th, because
May
I started
20th.
the show. May
Oh,
20th was the first show, and my first guest was Michael Kostroff, and I started it because I kept on taking seminars and workshops with casting directors and producers and others, and I wanted to ask them a lot of questions, and I didn't have an opportunity, so I thought, you know what? It's COVID time. I'm home. I'm going to start a show so I can talk to people who I admire, who I want to learn from. And it's grown into this thing. And now, only basically a month and a half later, I get a chance to talk to you, who I've been watching for years. It's a surreal, amazing feeling, and I can't quite process it in the real time.
well, it's a great pleasure for me, and bringing back some fond memories and inspiring too. And I want to inspire all those actors. It's a tough time right now, but any young actor who feels drawn to it, go for it. It's a great art form. It's thousands of years old. Sometimes I think about that 2,500 years ago, some actor was sitting and going, gee, I hope I get it in Euripides.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know, but it's a great tradition.
yeah. Perfect. Thomas, thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate you taking your time and coming by. In my research, I didn't see any interviews that you have done. I was surprised. I didn't see any written. I didn't see any video. So the fact that you came onto my show is a treasure just on its own. So thank you for that.
Well, Alan, I can't tell you how nervous I was. I kept thinking, well, what if he asked me this? Or what if he asked that? My wife said, no, just just relax, just be home, because I haven't done one before. So I hope you got something out of this.
Oh, I tremendously, and all the people watching have gotten a lot out of it. So really appreciate it. I'll send you a link to everything so you can see it. And everybody who's tuning in, thank you so much. It's my pleasure, speaking to Thomas. I know it's your pleasure watching. Continue watching. Just in an hour and a half, I'm going to be speaking to another person that Thomas was on in 1983. Was on a show with, no, 1993, excuse me. This Boy's Life. One of the other people that was on there is Sean Murray, who spent 17 years on NCIS. He's coming on in just about an hour and a half. So today is one of those days where I get a chance to really just kind of spaz out, pretty much.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And take care, everybody. Appreciate it.